For years, one claim echoed loudly through headlines, interviews, and carefully placed sound bites. Meghan Markle never contacted her father. It became the cornerstone of a public narrative, one designed to evoke sympathy, outrage, and judgment in equal measure. A daughter portrayed as cold and dismissive, a father framed as abandoned and heartbroken, and a public invited to choose sides. But narratives built on omission are fragile things, and eventually silence, once used as a weapon, stops working. And Thomas Markle Sr. wanted the entire world to believe that Meghan had never reached out to him, not privately, not emotionally, not at all. That belief was not accidental. It was cultivated, repeated, and reinforced through media interviews, staged photographs, and emotionally charged public statements. Each appearance carried the same underlying message. She never called, she never wrote, she never cared. That claim was powerful because it was simple, and because for a long time it went unchallenged. Public sympathy depends on perception, and perception depends on control. For years, Thomas Markle Sr. held that control by presenting himself as a man left entirely in the dark, a father frozen out of his daughter's life without explanation or closure. Media outlets amplified this portrayal because it was compelling, emotional, and honestly, easy to digest. But there was one problem. The truth doesn't disappear just because it's inconvenient. Meghan Markle did contact her father. She did reach out. She did write to him. And the moment that letter came to light, the entire structure of the narrative cracked, because suddenly the story was no longer about absence. It was about what was ignored. The existence of Meghan's letter destroyed the central claim that had been repeated to the public for years. Once it became undeniable that Thomas Markle had, in fact, received a heartfelt letter from his daughter, the story shifted dramatically. He was left with no choice but to admit it. And that admission mattered, because, honestly, it exposed something far more uncomfortable than just estrangement, intentional omission. The public wasn't misled by accident. They were, well, allowed to believe something that simply wasn't true, because that belief served a purpose. If the world knew Meghan had reached out, privately, thoughtfully, and directly, then the image of total abandonment just collapsed, and with it, the moral high ground that had been so carefully claimed through public interviews and emotional appeals. Silence can be cruel, but so can exposure. Meghan's letter was never meant to be a public document. It wasn't written for headlines or sympathy. It was written to a father who had, repeatedly chosen public engagement over private reconciliation. And that distinction really matters. The letter reportedly addressed one central issue, his ongoing relationship with the press. Not fame, not money, not resentment, the press. For Meghan, the line was clear. A relationship just couldn't exist if it was continuously mediated through tabloids, photographers, and interviews. So, privacy was not punishment, it was a boundary. And boundaries, especially for women, are too often reframed as cruelty when they are simply acts of self-preservation. Once the letter became known, the old story could no longer hold. The claim that Meghan had never contacted him evaporated, and with it, the emotional leverage that came from public pity. That moment forced an uncomfortable shift, from she abandoned me to she contacted me, but on terms I didn't accept. This situation is not just about one family. It's about how narratives are shaped, maintained, and eventually dismantled. It's about how silence is sometimes mistaken for guilt, and how speaking privately can be overshadowed by speaking publicly. Meghan Markle didn't end the relationship publicly. She didn't stage interviews or sell her pain. She wrote a letter. And when that letter surfaced, it quietly but decisively ended the illusion that she had done nothing. In the end, the truth didn't need theatrics. It only needed daylight. Thomas Markle Sr. wanted the world to believe a story of total abandonment. But once Meghan's letter emerged, that story could no longer survive intact. The public was forced to confront a more complex, less convenient reality, one where contact existed, effort was made, and boundaries were set. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not shout your truth, but write it down, send it once, and let the truth speak for itself when the moment comes.